Hey everyone, welcome to Plastic Adventures. What is it? The Plastic Adventures toy community, and we are doing our Sandbox segment. So this is where
Sandbox
we take
time,
a topic and we beat it to death.
featuring made with 100% sincerity. I'm not telling you how much is there, but it's made with 100% sincerity.
A dash of sincerity, maybe some sarcasm. So,
So
all right.
yeah, looks like what we're going to be talking about is if we were to launch a toy line, not franchise specific, but just a toy line today in 2023 waters, knowing how things have changed over the years, how the hell do you make like an action figure line successful these days?
Mhm. Well, so and this was always something that we kind of touched on in previous topics about the decline in popularity, specifically for toys in general. Like we've noticed that not a lot of kids are buying toys or playing with them these days. They're playing video games, they're playing on their devices,
Yeah.
they're doing more social media stuff, not necessarily playing with the toys that that we all kind of grew up playing with. So if we wanted to bring toys back into the mainstream, not an adult mainstream, but put it back into the hands of the kids where, new stuff should go. How do we do that, right? How do we make that a viable, sustainable kind of franchise that kids not only like the story, but they want to go out and buy the merchandise too?
Yep. How do you present it to them? How do you sell it to them?
Yeah. And before the show we were talking about, so if we go back, into the early 80s and we take G.I. Joe as an example, which when G.I. Joe came out, it had to do a lot with that deregulation of selling things to children via cartoons and stuff, right?
Yeah, toy cartoons based on toys. So you had
Exactly.
Super Friends, and then you had like Super Powers, or you had Super Friends with the Mego superheroes, but you could not have Super Friends the action figure.
Right. And so when they deregulated that in the 80s, that kind of opened the floodgates, so you will. And so we got a lot of great properties and a lot of great franchises out of the 80s just for that reason alone. So if we take G.I. Joe as an example, it helped kind of set up that template, how to make a successful toy line. So they wanted to come out with action figures. Well, they went through this whole thing about like what size do we make them? Do we make them 12 inches like we did before? Do we make them smaller, 6 inches? Do we make them even smaller because Star Wars has kind of just come out and released these smaller action figures? So they decided to go on the small scale. But then they also did something that was completely revolutionary. They not only did they release the toys, but they released comics at the same time. They released the cartoons at the same time. So we were getting hit from three different sides, G.I. Joe related, all over the place. So
Yeah.
and that was before social media. That was
Right.
before everything, right? So that was just a really cool marketing blitz and a marketing idea on how they did that. But I don't think that that would even dent anything in today's world. I don't think that that would make any kind of headway. So, I mean, like, what would we got to do? What do we have to do if we were to release a brand new toy like Battle Elephants or whatever you want to call it, something weird? But how would we make it successful?
If I could just piggyback on you, Doug, I think that that's a great perception of the old 80s marketing strategy. In fact, the things that draw me back and really raise my nostalgia is looking at those GI Joes, flipping them over, seeing that index card on the back, what they did, what they can do, who they are, or even Masters of the Universe back in the day. You'd pop those up and then they'd have a comic book
Yep.
inside with the action figure. I mean, what a great way to provide that information in a day and age when, like you said, the internet wasn't available. So how do I find out more about these guys, these guys that I'm collecting, and I want to know more about them? And it's just a natural instinct I think we have is we want to know as much as we can about this hobby or whatever it is that we're collecting. But for me, I think that for a successful toy line to happen today in our technology driven age, I think that it would have to be based on, I think it would have to be a game that was kind of the foundation. I don't think a TV show would have the same impact as it did in the 80s as it would today. So to me, I think it would have to be a social media driven, almost like have like a YouTuber personality perhaps that is driving that social media presence. And then, you know, some type of game where as you collect these figures, perhaps you're getting codes for unlocks. Maybe that unlocks the class that you can now play in the game. So now I'm the battle elephant and I can use my bazooka because I've bought the battle elephant with the bazooka code. And then it becomes kind of a collector's thing as well, because people are collecting this. There's limited runs, maybe you've got skins. Think of all the money that people spend on those games on your phone. And, you know, just I've got a daughter that's really into Roblox and she spends money on, you know, just skins and things like that. To me, that's silly, but that's the generation that we have to appeal to today.
Absolutely. So that was one of the big things that I think that I was like, that would replace the cartoon. It would have to be a game. And if I think the toy would kind of have to go along the line. Do you remember the amiibos for Nintendo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
How you could have them and then you could place them on the Nintendo and it would scan their data and then it would give you this perk, right? What I would go even a step further was you get the game and you have all these different kind of characters that go along with it to satiate the collecting part of the toy that we're trying to do. But then you have this thing where, hey, you bought this figure. The only way you can get this character in this game is if you bought this figure,
Yeah.
scanned it, and then now that figure is available in the game.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a super good strategy. And I think both of you guys are very right about this. I think a cartoon would work because a cartoon it does really good for being able to say who the characters are. I think
Sure.
it has to be an assorted cast, almost like Power Rangers, maybe more like Captain Planet, where you've got different people of different ethnic backgrounds, which is one of the sweet things about G.I. Joe.
Mhm.
So I think there would have to be cartoon support. I love the idea of buying a regular action figure that has a QR code or something on it. So you can play with that character in some sort of a world where you interact with other people. So whether it's first person shooter or something like that, where, you can log in on a server and there's a bunch of other players. I love the idea of accessory packs that you scan in and now you can use that gear and equipment, but they've got to come up with something too that's really rare. Like, your figure comes with a card that you scan in or something, and maybe one in 5 or 1 in 10 come with this one that gives you some sort of a perk.
yeah, but you don't know which one it is. So kind of like a blind bag thing. But
Yeah.
the one thing that I don't want to do, or that I wouldn't want to see, is things that are like chase figures or things like that, because I do not want to feed the beast of the scalpers, right? Like I don't want something that they're just going to go out and then the secondary market is outrageously expensive, which defeats what we're trying to do of putting these toys in children's hands.
Yeah. Yep. I think that you probably got to go the G.I. Joe route with a hidden enemy where like you can't see their face, they can be anybody. And I think it needs to be a story that's almost like a secret war, right? Where it's a battle that not everybody sees. This enemy force is infiltrating society, whether they're aliens or something else. And, this elite group of 5 or 8 or 10 of these guys are they're like the line in the sand fighting this hidden battle.
Mhm.
And I think when you buy the accessories or the vehicles, you can scan those in and you can play with them in that environment real time. But also the cartoon for the littler kids who might not, just read the background on their file card. I mean, that might help to kind of flesh out who these characters are.
Well, I think inherently you're going to have a certain age range if you were focused on a computer or gaming style of medium that would be more drawn to that. And this is something I thought about actually when we were discussing this topic earlier was, what if a toy line actually designed a toy line from, toddler to adult, what if you had this toy line, GI Joe, for example, and you've seen it even with Star Wars. They have the toy lines for the toddlers, the more big plastic, Luke Skywalkers that they're not doing maybe 2 points of articulation, but as they
Yeah.
get more sophisticated, now you've got the Black series that are like the super detailed, highly, that to me is more of an adult, adult taste would want that, or an older collector type. Like that's going to sit on my shelf. I want to display it. Middle kid, the middle school age kids, they want to get them and play with them, or late elementary, middle schools. But as you age, what if there was a way to progress that toy line so that as you grew, you didn't necessarily have to stop collecting GI Joe? It just became a natural progression of the next step.
Yeah, so you got premium collector oriented figures. You've got figures for kids that are ages, like 3 to between like 12 all the way down to 5 or 6 years old, and then you've got the real basic stuff for the younger ones there.
Yeah.
Kids are super savvy with technology, way more than what we probably give them credit for.
Right.
But I think that if you support it, I think it would have to have a cartoon. But even more importantly, you're right, it would have to have some sort of gaming, some sort of gaming component to it, and it should not just be a single game experience where like you put in your PlayStation disc and just play at home.
Right.
I think it really needs to be something out there, like an MMO style where you've got other people that you interact with.
Well, what I would really like to see is a game and a toy franchise that really takes advantage of all of the technology that's out there to a point. Now, you don't want to oversaturate your product, but what I'd really love to see is a toy that can be used in the real world that you can take along with you and have an adventure that you can then incorporate into the video game, like kind of like Pokemon Go does. Like you take your phone with you and you have this adventure outside, but you're also having this adventure on the inside as well, right? So you can take, you have this figure, it goes with you, you have this toy, and it can be connected to your phone, and which way it knows you've walked 6 miles today, so you've unlocked such and such this. You can also now you can transfer that over to game, or what I'm saying. So I want to see, like, I want them to be able to play with this toy, to be able to play with it out in the open, and to get a reward for that in game.
Yeah, so what you're saying is some kind of an app that they can use while they're playing with the toy, and depending on what they do in the app, there's some sort of it has some sort of benefit when they plug into the actual game and play it. Well, that'd be kind of cool. I think that's a good idea.
Oh, I want to see it so that way it makes them want to play with the toy as well as play with the game. Like, you can't have one without the other. In order to be successful in the game, you got to play with the toy. And the toy has to do something in the real world in order to unlock that benefit in the game. So it's kind of this triangle where you can't play the game without getting these figures.
Well, I wouldn't want to preclude anybody from playing the game, but you should get good benefits by being outside and playing with this toy in the outside. You should get something out of it.
Well, and you don't want a product that basically you're buying just to play the game. I'm in agreement with Doug. There has to be a fine balance, a way to recognize, how am I going to buy this action figure, be able to play with it, but then balance that time between my action figure and my game. If I'm purely just buying to get game benefits, I'm just going to buy that toy and it's going to go in whatever, my box or whatever, and I'm going to go get on the computer and play my game.
Right. And but then if you're just putting that figure in the box, well, then you're missing out on the benefits of playing with that figure, right? You're missing out the things that it can do while you're playing with it that can then be transferred over to the game. So if it just goes on your shelf and you're not doing with it, well, you're missing 33% of what that action figure is good for.
Yeah. That's a tough one, though. My mind's empty. I can't think of, that's a good approach. I definitely think something like a Pokemon Go or something that you could tie to a mobile app definitely is a good starting point. But I'm struggling. I can't think of anything. What could it be that you're using that toy for that would generate generate a
Well,
benefit.
it would basically be like a companion, right? Like it would have to go with you.
Mhm.
And so,
I wonder if you could set it up to where like if you take video, it will put things on your screen like when you play with Pokemon Go, you know how like the Pokemon just shows up on your screen.
mhm.
Sure.
So I wonder if you could, looking through that camera, have the toy in front of the camera, maybe interacting with bad guys or something like that. Um, I don't know. That'd be a tough one to clock, but I like the idea of
Yeah.
incentivizing like outside and active play.
You can
Yeah.
definitely do like what is that? It was real popular a couple of years back. I forget what it we like have the geolocation, geostashing.
Oh,
Something like that maybe could be something. I also like the idea that Steve said is how could you go and you can only attack this enemy in the real world and get the benefits in the game from going after this guy or bad guy or whatever in the real world, or going to this location, solving a puzzle, doing whatever it is with the action figure, and then like you said, it's just continually building upon that you know dynamic of the game action figures.
yeah. But then I
Yeah, I
wouldn't want
think
the action figure to be static, like a statue, like an amiibo. I would want the action figure to be able to be played with. I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
pose it. I can give it accessories. I can do everything I can do with a regular action figure, but it's also interactive. It's scannable into a game or into a mobile app.
I
yeah,
think
that geocaching I think is a terrific idea, especially if it got people to places like parks
Hmm.
or
mhm.
somewhere where they could actually go there. I really love the idea of having it be location based if it's trying to get somebody outside. But there's going to be a lot of kids that are like latchkey kids, or they live in a fifth story apartment, and they're not necessarily going to be able to get to these geolocated places that are nearby.
Right.
I mean, you don't want to inspire a bunch of 5 or 6 year olds to go by themselves to a park with no
Right.
supervision.
Right.
Well, that was a
Um,
big deal. That was a big deal with Pokemon. People were, I believe, like getting mugged, and it was pretty wild there for a while with the Pokemon. It would
Yeah.
definitely be a fun
But what
one.
Pokemon Go showed is that people are looking for that type of experience. They're
Yeah.
looking for that type of interactive
yeah,
experience. And so with what Pokemon Go is going on, what is seventh year now? So it's in video game years, like it's starting to age already, right?
Yeah.
So
well, yeah, in video game years, that's like 12,000 years old.
yeah. So
Because
I mean,
everything just comes and goes. There's usually not any games that have like this long-standing support. Maybe Diablo or something like that, where they're constantly updating. But uh, no, that Pokemon Go blew my mind when I first saw it. I thought that
yeah.
was the coolest thing, and I promptly stayed away from it because I'm the kind of guy that could really, really put some hours in.
Oh yeah. And I'm not one of those 45 plus year olds who's afraid to admit that there's benefits and there is definitely a draw for something like Pokemon. But what I think is that we can build on the things that have shown to be successful in franchises like Pokemon, but also franchises like Fortnite and things like that, where these massive online interactive games, but there needs to be this outside collectability function, I think, that just kind of enhances that game. So it's going to make you want to go out and buy those figures. It's going to make you want to play with them because there's a benefit to that.
Yeah, I'm surprised that those Fortnite figures don't have some interactivity, like
That's
QR
what I
codes or
thought when I
something.
first saw them. That's why I
Yeah,
was like,
yep.
but no, it's to me, it's like, oh, just a figure. Well, for me, yeah, okay, cool, just a figure. If I was a Fortnite fan, I'm not. I
Yeah,
think
and
Fortnite's
the
stupid.
game is just the game. Fortnite's just the game.
Yeah,
There's no story driving it, so why would kids want to pick them up and play with them as action figures?
yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Well, and
So
I do think we need to keep in mind that the way society is this day and age, I don't think playing with toys, and we talked about this at the very beginning, I just don't think it's something that is inherently done anymore.
Yeah,
We don't, when we were growing up, or I want to speak for myself, and we didn't have the internet. We didn't have, TV was our means of getting entertainment, and the action figures were the way of continuing that uh, entertainment off when the TV was only, Saturday morning, and that's the day you saw your GI Joe cartoon, or whatever. It was the one day a week that you watched maybe two episodes back to back, or maybe an hour tops of entertainment, and then you were basically left to your own device for 6 more days until the next Saturday morning.
Yep. And that's one of the things I want to bring back. Like, when we're playing a video game, we're basically playing in somebody else's sandbox with somebody else's rules on how they wanted that world and those characters to react and interact with each other, which is fine. But what I also want to be able to do is say, well, what if I want my character to do something? Well, I want to use my imagination. Well, the only way you can use your imagination is physically, right? If you've got something that you're physically doing and you're doing it that way, then that toy is going to unlock that imagination piece, right? So it's going to add to that gaming experience that you're not going to be able to do with just a digital rendition of on your screen.
Sure. Is
Yep.
it?
Yep.
What if though the toy became? Maybe we don't look at it from a concept of playing with the toy. What if just purchasing it? I mean, at the end of the day, what's the ultimate goal of a company? And that's to sell product and merchandise, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's
Whether
why I'm trying to balance this.
Yeah. Whether they play with it or it, and I'm not saying to make it a static posed type action figure, but make it a great action figure. Have it so that maybe I do just want to display it and I don't want to play with it, but maybe I do, because that's just, let people have that choice, whatever it might be. But I do think that having it tied to those different medias, social media or a game, and on top of that, if you had that QR code system within you now have prevented resellers from purchasing and scalpers buying stuff. And I mean, if those codes are compromised, I mean, you're going to only want to buy from, from a store that's trustworthy, basically. So, I think it does unintentionally help with that, the scalping, the reselling, those issues that a lot of other products or hobbies have.
It's going to happen. I just want to try to figure out a way to limit how much that happens, which is by eliminating the things that cause scalpers to go out and do the things that they do. Eliminating the chase figures, eliminating the exclusive only to Target, eliminating, you know what I'm saying? We want to get rid of that. We want to be able to put these things in everybody's hand, not just the people who have
I totally agree.
Target.
I don't want to go to Target and see 87 Beastmen and no He-Man. Like,
you got to go to Walmart if you want He-Man, but then you got to go wherever else if you want something else. I want to kind of get rid of that. But I think one of the biggest things I think that is being lost is when these kids grow up, what are they going to have to fill? Because they're going to hit that nostalgia bug. At some point, their childhood goes away and they're in their adulthood and they start looking back and going, oh man, remember when I had that? Well, if you're a video game, you're going to have a box, a disc that you put on your shelf and be like, I put in 3,000 hours on that disc. Oh, but you got nothing to show for it, right? You got nothing to show for it. Whereas we how many thousands of hours have we got in the sandbox playing with our action figures? And now I've got them on my shelf and I can pull that thing off my shelf and go, oh, I remember playing with this. This thing is awesome. You don't get that with a video game.
Not really, because with a toy, you create. It's you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a ton of very good social benefits that come with playing with toys with other kids.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, just the fact that you're writing the script and these toys can do whatever you say that they can. To me, that gives a better experience than a video game. But I'm old and tired now, so I say that. But and then I go play WWE 2K22 instead of smashing my plastic wrestlers together. Plus, people would hear me, so I can't do that.
Yeah, they would think it was something else.
Could be.
No, I think that there's still a lot that can be done to revitalize the toy industry and not relying on nostalgia and adults to fill in the gap in the toy industry. I think there's still plenty of room to grow if they can just capitalize on all of the things that they have available to them and make them something that kids want, right?
Yep. And also, what elements do they need to borrow from the stuff that they know works?
Mm-hmm.
Why does Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles work almost every time?
Mm-hmm.
Why does Transformers work almost every time? G.I. Joe, we're a little starved right now for that, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like, why does Power Rangers work?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you keep getting money for out of somebody once they've bought all 6 action figures in the vehicles? Well, some kind of boost packs that come with a physical thing that goes with your toy and a card or something that you can scan that also potentially upgrades your character on the video game that you're playing. But you know, I really think that they've got to get the right elements going, because there's a million cartoons out there that come out for a season or two and then they flop.
Mm-hmm.
Why? You know, like Lightyear, that movie, marketing blitz, crap load of Lightyear figures still at Target or still at Walmart, all gonna go on clearance. What happened with that movie that didn't resonate with kids? Why aren't kids wanting to play with those toys? So, you know, I think you have to borrow certain elements from all these different franchises that made it work.
Yeah.
You know, an element of mystery, teamwork, brotherhood. You also have to represent everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like what G.I. Joe did perfectly with all of these characters from all these different places, and they were all pretty much badass except Psycho and Scoop. But,
Chuckles.
you could even argue that
He's not
Chuckles
cool.
could technically be cool. At least he had a cool gun and shoulder harness.
Fine, I'll give him that. But
That was
that's
the
it.
only reason why I bought Chuckles as a toy. I wanted his shoulder harness.
Yeah, I unpackaged him, threw the toy in the garbage, and walked off with his shoulder harness and pistol to go put on my favorite action figure.
Yeah, we had cool fatigues if you ever Franken-Joed it
Yeah.
and wanted to have like cool pants. But otherwise, he just looked like some sleepy guy that was, you know, some bum that's laying on a park bench.
Waiting for the bar to open.
Yeah. And what spy puts on army fatigues and a Hawaiian shirt?
I'm telling you, I don't know.
He's the greatest guy ever to spy in fatigues and Hawaiian shirt to spy.
Yeah, and watch, the reason that he didn't speak in G.I. Joe the movie is probably because they had some commitment from an ultra, you know, Clint Eastwood or something. Then he's like, nah, I ain't gonna be the goddamn toy. So they just took all his lines away.
No, I mean, he carried his gun on the outside of his outfit. Like, I mean, you're not fooling anybody. You got camo on, Hawaiian shirt, and there's a gun like out in the open. Obviously,
so we
you're
got to
either-
remember what was popular at the day. So Miami Vice was big, right? Like during
That's
that
true.
time. So they wanted some Miami Vice kind of guy who could be their undercover cool guy, and they went with Hawaiian shirt and fatigues. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't recall Tubbs or Crockett wearing fatigues and a Hawaiian shirt.
No, they wore a white business suit with pink T-shirts underneath.
They had to relate it to military.
If you want to see somebody like that, the only place you'll find him is like Red Apple in Kennewick.
Oh,
Hey, don't bring my city into this.
Sorry, you know, or maybe I don't know, by the Goodwill or something. I don't know.
Chuckles is the guy that we used to pay to buy beer for us when we were in high school.
Yeah, and he'd want to crack one open with you and tell you some stories. You're like, say, we got to go someplace that isn't here.
I gotta go do another thing. Bye.
Yeah, wait. Do you think they'd want me to cut? Oh, see you later.
No.
See you later. Your breath smells as bad as you look. All right.
All right, to bring us back on topic. So I think so for toys, it's also gotta have something that I think has no tie to something that the kids' parents did as a kid. So we kind of have to leave behind our mentality of G.I. Joe, Transformers, and things, and riding on the coattails of those to kind of give this something that people will recognize. I want it to be something new. Like something that's going to kickstart a whole new franchise. Like there was no Harry Potter before Harry Potter came out, but now after Harry Potter came out, everything is, everything was wizarding, everything was going to a wizarding school, everything had so it started this whole new thing. It was new and it had no nostalgia behind it. But now it does. Now it has a nostalgia behind it. But what I'm saying is it would be something that needed to be brand new, fresh, that started its own thing.
Well, it's got to be sci-fi or fantasy of some design there.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, it's still got to have those things that make you want to engage.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be any of those old franchises, but they're successful for a reason. So what's the secret sauce that makes them so good?
Well,
and makes people
one of
gravitate?
the secret sauces was, you didn't have to be Harry Potter to want to be a student to go to Hogwarts. You didn't have to be Duke to want to be on the G.I. Joe team. You kind of had to be a robot to be on the Transformers, but you didn't. But you get what I'm saying? Like you could come up with your own character and put them in that world, and didn't have to be the main character for the story to still work.
And for Transformers, cars and jets that's cool. So yeah, I want to be this car, and I want to be, on the Autobots, and I'm going to transform into this. And, it's definitely, you're right. It definitely built in the ability with those toy lines to basically envision yourself as part of that.
And I think that's got to be
team.
something that can be big if we're going to do a video game tie-in. I think that would have to be an important part as well. They need to be able to see themselves in this world. They need to be able to immerse themselves in whatever lore it is that they create along the way. That's why so many people are still, Potterheads, because that world is so rich and it's enthralling, right? You say what you can say what you want about not being a fan of it, but you cannot deny the popularity of it and the things that made it work.
I want to pose a question to the group, and I think my question to you all is, who really is buying these toys? Do you think, other than the grandma that pops in to buy the toy for their grandchild, happens to grab the G.I. Joe or whatever the toy is? I think the people that are driving the toy industry are the kids that have grown up now. I think people like you.
Well,
there's actually an answer for that.
And I think we can come back after our break, because we have about a minute in this recording time. So we'll answer that question when we come back, and I'll throw in some pretty exciting commercials. How about that? After these messages.
Let's face it, the dollar just isn't what it used to be. That's why people like you and me, we gotta be careful to get the most value for our money. That's why I come here, Taco Bell. I can feed my whole family for $5.59. 2 tacos, 2 bean burritos, 2 tostadas, pintos and cheese, soft drinks, only $5.59. Like they're saying, Taco Bell. What a meal, what a deal. No kidding.
Taco Bell.
Battle Beast Wood! Fire! Fire burns wood! Battle Beast Fire! Water! Water puts out fire! Battle Beast Water! Wood! Wood beats water! Battle Beast Battle for the fun of it! Just activate their battle badges.
I got fire! I got water! Water beats fire!
Battle Beast!
Wood! Fire! Fire beats wood!
Battle Beast can grow into an army!
Collect all 84.
Battle Beast!
Every night, Alex Rogan dreams of going far away.
You really are leaving here, aren't you?
Tonight, he will go further than he ever dreamed.
Welcome to Rylos, my boy.
He's 1 in a million.
Alert! We are under attack!
But the odds against him are 1,000,000 to 1. Alex Rogan is the last Starfighter. Rated PG. Starts Friday at select theaters. Check newspapers for locations.
All right, welcome back from that totally outstanding commercial break. I'm sure I'm going to put something super cool in there. I don't know, maybe like what I did before, like an anti-diarrhea commercial from 1982. How's that?
No, get us some Underoos commercials, man.
Underwear commercials. Oh, with
Yeah.
kids dancing around in their underwear. Yeah, that'll feed the YouTube
No,
algorithm.
no, we're not doing that.
I can't believe you suggest. How dare you suggest that, Tony? I can't believe that.
I did not suggest that.
All right. So before our break, Tony asked a really good question about who is buying these toys. Who are the people that are driving this industry?
Well, I got the answer for that. And this one really, really surprised me because the number was higher than I thought. But 25% of the toys purchased right now are collectors.
Mhm.
But the toys themselves are usually packaged. I mean, if you don't know the cartoon, you don't know the movie, they are actually packaged to attract mothers, believe it or not.
Really?
Because they're the ones that the toy company is assuming that we're still in this world where, this nuclear type of a family, and whoever is the nurturer or the one that is at home most, those toys are set up and merchandised in such a way that they are to appeal to that particular shopper. Unless we're talking collectors lines like Masters of the Universe Classics or Origins. But even Origins, if you look at them, look how bright the characters are.
Mhm.
Look at the rock, the explosion of rocks and stuff behind the character, that red, and then it fades into the real deep navy blue. They're attention getting, and when somebody looks at that and they see a character like Fisto, or actually probably more like Jitsu with the vac metal, the red armor and the gold highlights and everything, I was very shocked when I learned that the merchandising is really trying to catch the eyes of the nurturer or the mother.
That's interesting.
But 25% are a bunch of like old ass jabronis like us.
Well, I mean, are the days gone where the child goes into the toy store and throws a fit? Mom, I need this toy. Like, I don't know, or has that just moved over to the video game aisle and now we're just not seeing it? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it goes more video games, but I've seen them in the toy aisle. And honestly, I've walked by people with a kid with a toy in there, and I'm like, no, don't take that out of the package.
But I want
doing?
them to take it out of the package, Steve. I want them to play with toys.
What are you doing? Yeah, I know. Don't play with toys. And then I'm the death of the toy
I want
industry.
them to don't open my packages, but I want them to open their package.
Oh, don't you think that little Johnny there would rather have one of these 17 karate chop guys instead of that one horde trooper?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think so.
I'll take that. Thank you.
No, honestly, though, if you could keep those kids from playing with their toys, they become collectibles for you when those kids go off to college and the mom's like, I'm just going to sell all this junk for $10 on eBay.
Well, but that's a good point. So that brings me back to what I was talking about, the nostalgia factor. Why did they become collectibles in the first place? Because we bought them over and over again and we played with them and they were such good memories that now we wanted them again, which in turn created the collectability factor of it. So now we're going back to grab that nostalgia, to grab that feeling, and now they're collector's items because that's what it was. Created collectors. I hate when something comes out on the shelf. Oh, this is a collector's series. This is for the collectors. No.
Oh, yeah.
Hasbro, you don't get to decide that.
No.
Only I can.
One of like 300,000. It's so rare. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to counter it. Is it because we played with it and it was nostalgic? Or is it because we have the money now to buy the things that we maybe couldn't get when we were kids?
Well, no, Tony, it's a combination of the two, right? We have disposable income to buy back our memories.
Yeah, that's true.
Going into the future, are these kids going to be able to buy back their memories if there's nothing for them to buy? Like they're going to buy a box. They're going to buy a Nintendo Switch because they spent so much time playing the Switch when they were kids, and they're going to have a box that they're going to be like, "Oh, I love this box."
I think what you're going to see is people buying old games, and you're starting to see that already. Retro video games are starting to become a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a collection of my old Nintendo NES games,
and I think that's where it's going to go.
Yeah,
but they're all digital and downloadable now, so you can't even get a box.
Absolutely.
Well,
but it's not about the box; it's the game. itself, the playing of the toy is playing of the video game. Essentially, it's moved from a physical manifestation of a physical item in your hands
Right.
to a digital.
But 25 years from now, Tony, what's that person going to buy to have their memory? If there's
The
no
pop action
box,
figures.
if there's no box, and they've already bought the system that can no longer work, by the way,
Yeah.
what are they going to buy for their memory? Nothing. There's nothing.
And the whole world is contained on that disc or that cartridge. And that'll be a one and done, right? Like,
Yep.
man, I remember when I had WWE No Mercy for the 64. Well, you can have that all in just one shot. The trick
Yep.
with the toys is you have to buy individual ones to make your world. So I guess
Yep.
that's where the money's going to be at. But I will say, going back to this collectible game thing, boxed games, sending them off and getting graded like action figures or baseball cards, that's kind of a thing.
No, it is. It absolutely is.
Yeah, I was really startled at what some of these games go for when they're sent off and graded. You know, they're still in the box with all the cellophane wrap on the outside.
They can
So I
go,
guess,
they
yeah,
can
we're
go for
seeing it
just
with
as
those
much as our
games.
action figures, Steve, or more.
Yeah, but stupid games. Action figures are way better.
I'm not going to have that kind of talk on here.
Stupid games.
Yeah, that's why I bought a thing called the Pandora's Box with like a million old games, and I don't play many.
No, I'm pretty proud of my my old Nintendo collection that I have because, growing. I mean, I think the only thing I have left to really add to that collection to make me feel like it's complete is, you remember the robotic operating buddy that went with the NES system?
Ugh, yeah.
But it was a cool gimmick to get you to want to buy it. I've tried to find one of those things, and it's like, which one of my arms? How much I got to sell half of my collection in order to get this Rob? I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, you'll have to buy the Power Glove instead.
I found that one long time ago, like 10, 12 years ago. I bought it off of eBay for $30, complete with magazine and everything. I got it all. But I want to Rob now. Damn it.
My concern that I have is with the way things are going in our digital age.
Mm-hmm.
Will there even be a box to collect?
Well, that's what I was saying. There's no box to collect. Once you buy the console that you have purchased to download the game, what do you have besides that? By the way, the console will no longer be able to connect to the internet because the internet will be something different in 20 years.
Oh, well, the computer technology is always there. There's emulators. I'm sure that I can find ways to play all those games, if I really wanted to. There's emulators and things like that. But what I'm getting at is at what point really you don't have anything. I have my Steam account that has 50 games on it, but I never bought any physical anything. It's just all digital downloads now. Books, video games, anything that you can digitally download, it's moving that way because it saves money. It makes more money for the seller of the product. They don't have to worry about packaging, artwork, all the marketing, blah, 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 blah. It's literally there. It's popping up in your face, and that's their marketing it's there all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and that's progress, right? I mean, that's just the way the future is going. But that's what I'm trying to say is like, I think that there is still a way to incorporate all of those things that are moving us into the future that can still make a toy line successful.
I'd like to ask you, can you tell me a toy line that's currently out there that is going to be potentially as collectible as the toys that are behind all of you right now?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to start off with no, but it's not for lack of people's nostalgia or their wants. I'm going to say no because now there's more collectors than ever.
Mm-hmm.
So, I take a lot of the new stuff out of the box and I put it on the shelf when I display it. Everything back here is all like retro re-release or,
right.
Like card backs with vintage figures on them, just a few vintage things. So but that was for display purposes and for my memories. But by and large, there weren't really a ton of collectors when we were playing with Transformers, GI Joe, and He-Man.
No.
That's why the big money is in the pieces that are in really nice condition or they're graded. But I mean, we grew up with this stuff, and we are really driving the collector's market right now. I don't think that you can put anything out that in 30 years from now you'll have a hard time finding. So, you know,
Well, I
even
don't know, Steve. So I recently, my son started asking me. He's like, "Hey, you still have all those Thomas the Tank Engine things I used to play with when I was a kid?" Right? He's what, 28 years old now. I'm like, "Yeah, we still got those." And I went and looked those up. Those things, holy crap! Like the wooden accessories that all those go with, and all those Thomas the Tank Engines, they're all magnetized and everything. Those are expensive. I did not realize I was sitting on a gold mine, Steve. But if I sold those, he would be really mad.
I would just like to revisit my question though. Can you, everything is a throwback. You walk down the toy aisle, Star Wars, Transformers, everything is stuff from the 80s. In the last decade, what product has come out that has been as impactful as the things I'm thinking of is like Harry Potter, Power Rangers, Thomas the Tank. Name me a toy brand that's out there right now that's as impactful as any.
Well, I think that was my point that I was making earlier, Tony, was that all of the things that we see on the shelves now are driven by a nostalgia factor of something when we were kids.
I'm also, what I'm getting at is I don't think there's a product line out there that's powerful enough to ever drive the nostalgia that we're having.
And I think there needs to be. I mean, I think there needs to be something new that people can get behind, kids especially, that they can see themselves in that world. Like when Harry Potter came out, before, pre-Harry Potter, people didn't no magic schooling, no nothing. The day after Harry Potter came out, every kid wanted to go to Hogwarts. Every kid wanted to be a wizard. It was that impactful. It was brand new and it was impactful. That's what I think we can still do it.
I know adults that like Harry Potter a lot.
I guess we're going to have to see with Harry Potter, because it's going to cool off for a while, and we'll see if he makes some kind of a comeback later on.
It will. I have no doubt that even in less than 5 years' time, maybe less than 10 or 5, you're going to see a resurgence in the nostalgia for Harry Potter, because those kids are all approaching 30 now.
Well, you know what else has never really gone away? Pokemon.
No.
Oh yeah.
But Pokemon cards, Steve, are the original Pokemon cards. The kids are now having this disposable income. They're growing up. They're buying those old cards. Those things are super expensive. Super expensive.
Well, and you've got multiple medias to support that too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Cartoon, movie, video games, actual toys that you can actually play with. So I think they got it right, because they've got parts of it where you have elements of
everything.
You don't know what you're getting in that pack of cards. I mean, that's like that build up and anticipation. So, I mean, they're doing it right. I don't know how Power Rangers is. I think they still got a TV show, and they've got new toys that come out, a movie every once in a while.
Still very popular, man. For some reason, Power Rangers just won't die.
Yeah, I wonder about Harry Potter. I think maybe 10 years from now, when we're older and grayer, we might have that discussion.
I think Harry Potter is due for that nostalgia run any year now. It's coming up. But
what do you think about it, Tony? I mean, what do you know any of them that have that staying power?
No, honestly, that was kind of where I was going. I don't think there's anything out. I think that the days of GI Joe, Transformers, Power Rangers, even, and those nostalgias reappearing is those generations of kids growing up. You look at the main collectors of the GI Joes and the Transformers. They're guys our age.
Mm-hmm.
The guys of that are collecting the Power Rangers, or the guys that are maybe 10, 15 years behind us. And then you've got I think that's what I'm like. Which toy line defined that generation? And for us, we had, I mean, just behind Steve alone, 4 or 5 different major toy lines that are still alive and kicking today. And it's sad because I can't even think of one today that my kids are into, that they want. They're not, hitting me up I remember at Christmas, I'm in the toy catalog and I'm marking every single thing I want. I'm like telling my parents, I want this. This is it. This is, I need Optimus Prime. I need Duke. And I don't have that today. I have kids that are like, I want the new Pokemon video game. I want the Sonic the Hedgehog video game. It's video games. It is all video games.
Yeah. Video games.
Yeah,
New
I'll
phone,
tell you,
new device, right?
Yeah, new
Whatever the
devices.
device is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
something that makes me
me
something that makes me a little bit sad is Victor plays a ton of Minecraft.
Yeah.
And he's got Minecraft Legos, but he builds the Legos once and then he doesn't really play with them much again. But he still goes back to playing Minecraft. Isn't the whole point of Minecraft like building stuff like Lego blocks?
Yeah.
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 So that's kind of a bummer.
We talked about Pokemon, and I have a kid that's into Pokemon. She has cards, she has action figures, but she gets those action figures. She's like, "Oh, cool, it's Pikachu or whatever," and then it goes into the abyss. But she'll have 900 hours on the latest Pokemon game, and she's caught all the Pokemon. So it's just I think we're just, those days are gone.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a benefit to what they're doing with these video games and stuff like that. I can see the benefit of kids playing these things, but I think what we've done is we've traded one benefit for another, right?
Yeah.
We've traded these the imagination and some of our other problem solving skills for a different set of problem solving skills, and not so much of an imagination or things like that. And that's why I'm saying I think if we can somehow combine the two, we can give them back these things that we had, that we are benefiting from. Like all of the imagination, all of the stuff that I learned as a kid, I brought forward, and I'm doing that in my, I brought that into my work. I brought it into how I am as an adult, how I interact with other people. I did all that stuff because I was playing in the sandbox, because I was playing with my toys, because I was not afraid to talk to people in school about a certain subject and things like that, right? Whereas, kids today, they're playing a game and they're maybe chatting with somebody online. Have they met them in person? I don't know. Do they know how to talk to a person in real life? Probably not.
No. They're standing shoulder to shoulder texting each other.
Yeah. So but we've given them other tools that I think are important, but I think along the way they've lost other things that are just as important. And I think with toys and the element of play outside of a video game is something that is terribly important and has been on the decline for many, many years. And I think we're starting to see the reason that, how that's impacting kids, and how that becoming adults in the real world now, because they didn't have these elements to kind of help them along. That's the way I feel about it. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's a psychological
social,
term, but that's the way I feel.
The social development and the social skills that come with being around other kids outside, having to get along and all playing at the same game together. When you're online, you're anonymous. You can be anybody that you want,
But we still have recess and we still have school. It's not, we're talking, in my opinion, we're talking about after school, past the activities that are happening outside of school. And in this day and age, I remember I took a course and they were talking about how far as a kid did you travel on your bike? And then how far would you let your child travel today?
Different world, man. Different world.
Was it? Or was it media? Or were there less serial killers back in the 70s than there are today?
Maybe there were. We weren't as aware of how
the media.
There were.
Yeah. It's media drives a lot of that. But I'm just saying that back in the day, I'd pack up my bag in the morning. I would bike over to my buddy's house, and we would play till the street lights came on. And
I would
that's
be
how it
gone
was.
all day sometimes.
Yeah.
All day. No cell phone even.
Yeah, no, neither did I. Friday nights, I'd get out of school and I was over to Dale and Chance's house meeting up with these guys, Steve and all those guys. And, I wouldn't come home until Sunday night at 5. It's just a different world we live in. So
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I don't know. And it's tough. I want it to continue. I'd love to see the next big toy line. What does that look like? But my hopes
Well,
are
it's not just the next big toy. It's like, it's the next big franchise. It's the next big thing.
yeah.
But
And
how does
that's-
it get?
that's what
How
I-
does it
that's
get
what I mean,
marketed?
yeah.
So that way, it is a toy line. It is a video game line. It's all of those things.
But I think that's where it comes back to. I think 25% is low because all they keep doing is rehashing the old toy lines.
Yeah, we keep re-seeing old stuff.
Yeah, well,
That's
think
all it
about
is.
this. You think it's low, but when you walk down the aisle, there's 500 different SKUs that are on the aisle, and like 8 of them are getting the adults buying them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what they mean, 25% of the market being driven by us, the collectors. I mean, we pass by the Fisher Price, we pass by all the Barbies, we pass by, these things that aren't related to the franchises that we grew up with. So I think that 25 seemed high to me.
See, I think that's low. I think that I honestly feel like I don't even see kids in toy aisles anymore. I see you guys in toy aisles. Like I see,
not making eye contact with each other. Don't look at me.
yeah. And you're
in the-
shuffling through the peg of 87 stormtroopers looking for the Anakin Skywalker with the diaper on or whatever limited edition, and they're all gone because all the collectors bought those already, and all that's left now is, Bounty Hunter number 7 with his boots that are like skin or whatever, like was that one bounty hunter guy in Star Wars?
Bosk,
Yeah,
with his
Bosk.
skin tucked in his boots.
Yeah. And what kid's gonna want to buy that? I want
Exactly.
I want Luke Skywalker. I don't want this weird alien bounty hunter guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a difficult topic, I think, that even big companies are wrestling with, right? They're trying to figure out the new formula as well. I don't think they have it, because if they did, we would have seen it.
No,
Well, it's got to go. It's a lot of money to launch this, to go through R&D, to produce toys, to produce the game infrastructure. It's a huge risk. Do you think that if they did something that was really viral, like a campaign that was very mysterious, to pique people's interest, and then slowly revealed little things here or there, and something pertaining to this mystery thing is going to hit the web on the 15th of March at 12 p.m. Click on this link to see. I mean, is that kind of like guerrilla and viral marketing? Do you think that that's what we need to be doing to drive interest towards it?
It depends. Who's your target audience? Is your target audience your 20-something-year-olds who are going to do this, or is your target audience your 8 to 9-year-olds?
I think
I would say that you send this right down to that, kids about 11 and under, because let them grow to buy the collector's lines a little bit later. But how do you put this in front of them and get them interested in something that's cool and new? I mean, I think that's how you would get kids talking in the schoolyard. Hey, did you see that commercial? I don't know what that's all about. Or you go to this website and there's a countdown timer on it. I think that's what it would have to be to grab interest. You can't do a commercial on TV anymore.
Right.
A lot of them won't have email yet, or if they do, it's highly monitored. So they got to figure out, maybe on YouTube or something, Facebook or whatever they feel that the most kids in that range are viewing. I think it's going to take a marketing campaign buildup of like 2 or 3 months, just giving out little tidbits of something to gain garner interest in it.
I think that we hit the nail on the head in the very beginning, and that is it has to be a broad spectrum. We talked about video games, social media, we talked about cartoon TV show, we talked about movies. I think it's got to be all those things.
Yep.
And what Steve said definitely can be elements. But thinking back while you were talking, the one thing that kind of popped into my mind was, do you remember the waves of G.I. Joe?
The what?
Waves of G.I. Joe. They
Oh,
would
yeah.
have, like
Yeah.
wave 1, wave 2.
Yep.
Maybe if they did something like that, so it had a collectible aspect to it, but at the same time, it's not one Luke Skywalker per 10 stormtroopers in a
Exactly,
box that the
yeah.
store gets.
So I'm all for that collecting, like I said, but we'd have to get rid of those chase and exclusives. We
Yeah,
want it
and
to
then
be
you-
available for every kid to walk into the store and be able to be like, well, okay, so they didn't have Luke Skywalker this time, but he's not an impossible figure to find. Maybe he'll come back in the next shipment or something. Like,
But you look at companies like Pokemon, and what do you see every 3 months? A brand new Pokemon set. What if you had a brand new wave of action figures every 6 months, whatever it was? And it's not a lot. It's like 10 figures. And there's plenty out there. It's enough that any common person could pick up those 10 action figures over the course of 6 months or whatever it is, and collect them all. And then bam, right when I got all that stuff, my interest is peaked because a month before I finished buying that last guy I needed, they're already doing the marketing campaigns, or 2 months, whatever, of the next wave of people that are coming out, or whatever it is.
yeah,
And I think that would be huge.
that would be huge. So we remember, and we'll go back to G.I. Joe as the example. So one of the biggest selling points that they had was that a mom could go in with $100 or less than $100 and get get all of the figures and get the vehicles and not have to go to exorbitant amounts of money or places to find these toys, right? They wanted to be able to be like, okay, we want this to be able to be bought and had for less than $100. Everything is yours. There's no hidden anything, there's no special anything.
Yeah, the $2.99, I'm at pay and save, or the Rite Aid getting my medication, and I'm over hitting up my mom for the action figure for $3, and it's reasonable, and that's not a big deal, and it's probably going to be whatever. But nowadays, you look at stuff, it's like, I know the world's different, minimum wage is more. Well, I'm not going to go into that, but you look at the sticker prices on some of these action figures, and even me as an adult with disposable income, and I'm like, man, I really would love to get that Starscream, but that's $80. And I'm not paying $80 for that.
Why am I still having to make the same damn decisions that I made as a kid? Why am I having to hold 2 of them in my hand and go, I only can get this one? I have money. I'm an adult now. Why am I making those decisions?
Think about those kids who don't even have jobs or money.
I feel like I've not changed. I'm still making the same damn decision.
Yep. Well, I think you're right. The core characters have to be affordable, like $10 or under. And if you want to deck them out, or we got to figure out some way to put that rarity and collectible stuff in there, but it's got to be some kind of a blind booster, something that goes with it.
Yep.
Well, then bring the waves back. That's what would be awesome about those is, as you announce new waves, new things are coming back every once in a while, boom, wave 1 pops up out of nowhere. And, it's like a scramble to get those 1 or 2 guys that you missed or whatever. And
well, Mattel did that recently with Origins. Remember, they brought back a wave that had not as wide distribution because of the distribution problems during the pandemic. And they brought back that wave, and now that wave's everywhere, and people who couldn't get them before can get them now. And I'm sure it pisses off a lot of scalpers, and that makes me very happy.
Screw you, Scareglow scalpers.
One of the big things that's turned me off on Warhammer is the exclusivity, the ability to not buy what I want. Why am I going to invest into your product if I can't buy what I want? I'm just going to buy other stuff. That doesn't make any sense. My money's going somewhere where I can buy what I want to buy, and it's not a FOMO thing where fear of missing out's driving my buying decisions, or
exactly.
I better buy this right this minute, or I'm never going to get it again.
And I
It-
think
it
that
should-
Hasbro's playing on those fears a lot with adult collectors there, Steve. I know they
Yeah.
are.
I'll be honest, Hasbro's not doing great. They're Wizards of the Coast. Their subsidiary is not in a good spot right now.
They've been doing better in recent years than they have in the past. And I think that they've decided to offset some of their toys, recognizing that one of their demographics is people like us.
The concern I have is they're talking about their next products, and you're talking about Magic the Gathering 30th Anniversary Edition, which was what a pack of cards for $1,000. Who's buying that?
No,
You're talking about
Yeah.
D&D 1 is going to be the new Dungeons and Dragons books, fully digital books. Like, I mean, man, I love the book. I want to buy a book. I love opening it and I love smelling it. I'm weird.
oh no, you're not weird. I am right there with you. I love books. I'd rather have books,
Yeah.
but I also like the online ability to be able to share whatever it is that I found, right? And so with a book, that's kind of hard to do that. With a digital copy or something I can find online, it's really easy for me to take that thing that I found and share it with somebody else.
You always get that guy in your D&D group that won't buy the books and just borrows yours all the time.
Yeah.
Steve. I'm teasing.
Well, that's because you should have just, settled for 3.5 and been happy with it. Instead, here I'm coming, and now we're playing another effing Star Wars version that's got its new stupid ass dice that you got to use and a bunch of dumb rules for it. But hey, they don't make money if they don't keep us buying, so they gotta keep reinventing it.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm saying is I think there's plenty of tools out there that these companies can be using to make a toy line successful. They just need to be able to take what it is that has been successful for each of their past things, not relying on nostalgia, but to use those tools for a new idea going forward.
Yep, I agree. That's what it's going to take. Find the best things, the things we fell in love with, and create a new toy line with them.
Yep. And there's always room for a cartoon, man. I don't care what age you are. I think people still dig cartoons. I think we need to get away from the CGI art and move more back towards the two-dimensional art. I love 2D drawing, and I think there's an aspect for those kind of cartoons that you just don't get in three-dimensional art. But maybe that's a whole nother topic. And we only have like less than 5 minutes to go. So
don't even get started with me. I'm looking at you, Rooster Tooth Transformer cartoons. It's awful.
Well, if it wasn't for those cartoons, I wouldn't have my favorite version of Transformers. So the cartoons, not great. Toys, outstanding.
Okay, well, that's a discussion for another time there.
It is.
Well, I don't know about you guys. That was a heavy hunk. I'm kind of pooped.
No, it was a great topic. And it always turns out this way, Steve. I always come up with a topic and I'll be like, okay, maybe we'll be done with that one in like 20 minutes. And then, an hour and a half later, we're still talking about it. So it always happens. We come up with this topic and it never sounds like as super cool as it is. And then we break it down and it always turns out to be a lot of fun. So I'm glad we had this talk. I think so. What we're going to talk about going into the future, we've brought Tony in, and if you haven't told or been able to figure it out, he's going to become our gaming aspect of Plastic Adventures. He's got his finger on the pulse for miniatures, tabletop gaming, and things like that. Steve has his finger on the pulse for that stuff too. I don't. So going forward, we're probably going to have some episodes really, dedicated strictly to things like tabletop gaming and miniatures and stuff like that. And Tony will be a big voice in that. So I'm glad he's joined our team.
I'm excited to be here, and it's like we talked about earlier. It's interesting to see the toy lines transitioning to those board games and miniature games. So I think it's going to be a great addition to the podcast.
Yeah, we're looking forward to covering that one.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, I think that cuts it for today. We've beat that topic. Like Like I said at the beginning, we're just going to beat it down, and we did. We beat it down. But I think we came up with some good aspects. So if you're watching and you're still with us after that commercial break, thank you, Mom, for giving us the view. But if you're not my mom, leave me a comment. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you agree with. Tell us what you don't agree with. Visit Steve on Facebook. He has the Plastic Adventures Toy Community Facebook page. Visit me on Instagram. I have the Toyman 80s, and I love replying to comments for people to leave stuff on my pictures. So, and Tony, do you have any social media stuff that you can throw out there for your gaming?
I hate social media. Don't contact me.
Okay, leave Tony alone. But if you have anything you want to talk about for gaming, we'll pass the message on to Tony and see what he says.
Yes.
All right. Don't contact Tony. Tony's
I'll
on
call
the
you.
contact list. Right on. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. It was a great show. Talk to you next time.
Take care, everybody.